Warning: this video depicts piss-poor leatherworking technique applied with the grace of a concussed rhino. This video is for documentary purposes only. If you try this at home, good luck. If you are Noel, please click off the video now. It will only make you upset.
Now that for those who are into several Discord groups, that could also be a fun project or a fun contest, like Dungeon Master Screen.
Oh, yes.
I have never owned a DM screen. I do most of my games online these days, and even when I run games in person, I tend to walk around the table a lot, so a cheat sheet is usually enough for my notes. However, we do run crafting challenges on this channel, so when Gerard Boom threw down the gauntlet, I had to figure something out. Then I remembered I have a bag of leather scraps from a few years back. Could I turn them into a rudimentary but usable DM screen? Most of my games are EZD6 these days, so I wanted a screen that's the same size as my Four Horsemen supplement. This makes it easier to pack and carry around, and the screen will also protect the softcover. The design of the screen is fairly straightforward. Ideally, you would want 3 panels for the inside and 1 triple-sided panel for the outside. None of my scraps were large enough to make a single triple-sized panel though, so I made 6 panels instead. I cut all of these slightly larger than the finished dimension. That way, instead of having to line up the front and backs exactly, I could trim them down to a perfect fit once they were glued together. The player-facing side was going to be a large flat expanse of leather, so I added in a little motif to the middle panel to break it up. It's the D6 from the EZ6 logo. After sketching it on with a pencil, I scored the lines with a knife. Here you want to be careful not to cut all the way through. Then I took half of a clothes peg and started rubbing away around the edges. If you're familiar with Gerard's technique of detailing foam with a pencil, it's not too far off. And yes, there are specialized tools to do this which get the job done much better, but I don't have any of them, so I may do. It's primitive, but you can get some pretty decent results with this. It's also surprisingly durable. My wallet has been in my pockets every day for the last 12 years or so, and the design is still visible. Next, I wanted to dye the panels black. I did have some black dye, but it's been sitting on my shelf for about a decade. It was a lot more watery than I remember it being, but since I'd already poured some on the leather, I could only hope it hadn't gone off completely. I also had to change my original plan, as there was barely just enough to stain all the front panels. When the dye had dried, I went in with some leather finisher, both on the dyed and undyed panels. Like the dye, this has been sitting on my shelf for a few years, and it was not this thick before. It is normally more fluid. Still, I managed to spoon out some of it and rub it onto the leather, and it seems to have worked okay. With that done, I glued the front and back panels together in pairs. I used tacky glue for this. This is absolutely not the best glue for the job, but I didn't have any leather glue on hand and it does the job well enough. Once the glue had set, I went in and trimmed the edges to make them nice and flush. Cutting them to size at this point is so much easier than having to line them up when you're gluing them. Since I had 3 separate panels, these had to be stitched together. If you've ever needed to push a needle through leather, you know that's a terrible idea, so instead I used a punch to prepare holes for the stitching. You could use a drill to do this, but when you do that you're removing material and that makes the edges of the hole weaker. The punch compresses material around the hole, making it a little more durable. Stitching the panels together at this point is fairly straightforward. I used some linen thread for this. It would have gone a lot smoother if I had remembered to wax the needle and the thread. To tidy it up a bit, I buffed it up with some wax, and there you go, one DM screen done. Or as Dungeon Matron said, a perfectly serviceable modesty screen. I will be revisiting this at some point in the future as the stitching will probably loosen up with use, and some leather gussets will probably work better. The screen is large enough to keep some small notes in it and to hide some dice rolls should I need to, but what do you think? Is there anything that you absolutely must have behind your DM screen? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see what everyone else came up with for this challenge, you can find the link in the description below. Also below you can find a link to my Discord, where you will find details for upcoming challenges. At the time of this video, we have a baby doll head challenge going on for October, and a one-shot dungeon challenge for December, so I hope to see you around. Have a great week. Bye!